Welcome to the day 2 of the 11th International Conference on Educational Research and Innovation, held by the Directorate of Research and Communication and Community Services, Universitas Negeri Yogyakarta. Well, allow me to represent the committee on today's and moderate the plenary sessions today with two distinguished speakers. The first one would be Professor Herman Dwi Surjono, who has been here with us at Hotel UNY's ballroom. And then on the Zoom, we'll have Associate Professor Edward Palmer from School of Education, Faculty of Arts and Business Law and Economics in the University of Adelaide, Australia. Well, in today's plenary, since we have two speakers, each of them will have around 30, probably 20, 25 minutes each, and then followed by question and answer. The first session will be Professor Herman Dwi Surjono. Well, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, because we have limited time, then let's welcome Professor.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Pak Asadi. There are some participants who are online. Okay, allow me take time. Okay. Can everybody see my presentation? The title I would like to talk about is highly flexible learning to enhance emancipated learning. Emancipated learning in Indonesia is Merdeka Belajar. So it's common term in Indonesia, but the translated into emancipated learning. So the outline I would like to talk about. Let me introduce myself first. You can see my profile through that website, s.id/HermanDS. So if you see the website, you can see the screen like that. Okay. Okay, this is the outline I would like to talk about. The first is changing landscape of education, and then emancipated learning, and then the need for flexibility, and then highly flexible learning, and then aligning HFL with emancipated learning. Because I would like to combine between flexible learning and emancipated learning, and then what we will do to enhance the emancipated learning using the technology. So the next one is technology for emancipated learning. And I will talk one case about the technology is about big data. I will connect the big data for learning analytics, because learning analytics I will connect to the emancipated learning. Okay, so changing the landscape of education. We know the recent years, there are a lot of changing in our society, including in education. So it is a must that we have to shift from traditional to modern, because we face the world that's changing rapidly, so we have to adapt to the changing itself. And globalization and technology is also, we have to aware that for the changing the education, we have to integrate the technology into our education, especially into our teaching and learning process, because our learning environment also changing, especially after the COVID-19 has been for 2 years, so everything goes to online. That's one of the changing landscape of education. And then, as part of the changing in landscape of education is we moved the skill focus instead of the content, because now the employer, the industry, focus on the skill that the graduated will work in the industry or in the workplace. So now we have to focus on the critical thinking, creativity, and adaptability that we call the 21st century skill. Three of them is the critical thinking, creativity, and adaptability. Other thing is because every student is different. The diversity learning needs is unique. Every student have their own learning style. Some students may have auditory, visual, or maybe kinesthetic. So how we teach the student have to accommodate their learning style. And then now the paradigm for teaching and learning moved to what we call student-centered learning. So we have to make the student more active than before. The student have to engage in the learning activity, because the student have to active, not just as a recipient as before. And then we are aware that now formal and informal is kind of blur, because by Merdeka Belajar, we can recognize any informal certificate and the informal competence to become formal. So sometimes formal and informal learning is mixed, and what we call blur the formal and informal learning. And of course, the role of educator, lecturer, teachers also changing. From the traditional teacher give material, become the modern educator as a facilitator. And the second one, emancipated learning. I just said this is a special term, Merdeka Belajar. Merdeka Belajar, as we know, as Merdeka Belajar or emancipated learning is intended to create a competent and a thriving lifelong learner with strong character trait based on Pancasila, of course. And this is launched by our Minister of Education in 2020, I guess. This effort is intended to change the idea that school is a core. School is a kind of burden. It is not. Also, the student used to be a passive, but the Merdeka Pelajar want to change the school into a joyful experience. So student happy when study in the school and makes the student empowered. And the core tenet, the core principle of emancipated learning or Merdeka Pelajar is learning autonomy, independent learner, and critical thinking and skill development. This is I just capture from the website of Kemendikbudristek. There are 11 points there, curriculum and pedagogy, commitment to foundational learning, measure learning better, replace high-stakes national exam with diagnostic national assessment. Second, introduce more flexible curriculum framework. Third, replace student-based public university entrance test with an aptitude-based test. And then the second category, support good teaching. Number one, select master teacher as the next generation of school leaders. And then 5, redesign the pre-service teacher education. What we call the new era of PBG, pre-service teacher education. On open up tertiary education, allow university students to spend up to 3 semesters out of their major. We know there are 8 activities that students can use to take part in the what we call MPKM, Merdeka Belajar Kampus Merdeka. So they use at least 3 semesters out of their study program, maybe out of their university or maybe abroad. Encourage practitioner from industry to teach in our student. And the last category, utilize technology to scale up and accelerate progress. Provide high quality digital teaching resources pushed by our last COVID-19. So every teacher, every lecturer make digital material uploaded to the portal, internet, e-learning and so on. Assist principal in managing the school budget, provide matchmaking platform between university student and industries. I know you all Indonesian people know about this. Okay, next. Okay, what next? Okay. Now, emancipated learning, paradigm shift. At least there are 5 features belong to the Merdeka Belajar. The number one is learner or student empowerment. Because students have to move from the passive receiver in the teaching center learning, become active participant. So students have to be more empowered. Empowering learner to take control of their educational journey. So there are 3 semesters that student can freely take any courses outside their study program. So they can choose their own journey, want to take this. Because our Minister Mas Nadiem said that if graduated come to the real world, so they can become everywhere, become what they want. And then students have to be have skill of critical thinking. They have to have skill of analytical critical thinking, moving just from memorizing, remembering, to become a deep understanding, evaluating, and so on. Move to a higher order thinking skill. And skill development is also a key feature in the emancipated learning, because the student have to focus on practical skill applicable to the real world, to the real that they have faced after they graduated. So they have to prepare to face the challenges of a dynamic, fast-paced world. And also the key feature of the emancipated learning is autonomy and decision making, because students are encouraged to learn independently, and also they have to make a decision toward their future, toward their career when they are still in the school. And the last feature is flexibility in learning path, because students can choose what they want. The government, through our ministry, gave a lot of scholarship for students to take the courses abroad and also in other university, so they can tailor their experiences themselves to meet their what they want and their interests. And the flexibility is a must in this era, in the emancipated learning. The students have to adapt to the changing realities, because students may have to survive in the global situation that there's not there in the real today, but tomorrow may be changing fast, and so the students have to adapt to the changing realities. And we know that the learning style is various. Some students may have what we call gaya belajar, learning style, maybe auditory. Student will learn optimally when the material given to them according to their learning style. Maybe students prefer to learn from audio, maybe students prefer learn from visual, kinesthetic, and so on. So the learning style is diverse. And also we need for flexibility, because we have to enhance the engagement. Student is not, the student have to active in learning, because by engagement, by activity, student can get more achievement. According to some research say that. And flexibility also facilitating lifelong learning. Everybody, everywhere, every time need to learn, even after they graduated from their formal school. And also, we have to understand that students may have different pace of learning. Maybe some student may slow learner, maybe fast learner. So that's the flexibility. We have to accommodate them. Oh, maybe loss of connections. That's okay.
You still have 3 minutes, Prof. Sujono.
2 minutes, okay. Okay, time flies fast. Okay, I will skip my presentation. Highly flexible learning. We have to have adaptive curriculum, personalized learning, pathway, integration of technology, active learning environment, collaborative learning opportunity, and continuous assessment. Okay, we have to align between high flexible learning with emancipated learning. There are 6 key points here, how to aligning the flexible learning to emancipated learning. One is promoting learner autonomy, cultivating critical thinking, flexible assessment, emphasizing real-world assessment, encouraging collaboration and communication, and continuous feedback. Okay, this is actually my specialization, technology. Technology for emancipated learning, digital tools for personalization. It's important. Online platform like e-learning, online learning, virtual reality, how to improve the understanding, the difficult part of the material, we can make into virtual reality or augmented reality. Artificial intelligence become popular now because we can make almost everything to deliver material in education, collaboration tool, and interactive learning material, multimedia, interactive, and so on. And in the education 5.0, we focus on the ethics and humanism based instruction education. Okay, one case I want to talk about the big data. The big data is maybe very popular. Why big? Because there are 6 big. There are 6 big. Velocity, veracity, value, and variability. All 6 aspect is huge, is big. So that's we call the big data. And big data in education is high-speed connectivity in school, data privacy and security, digitalized record of student, high-quality, low-cost devices, online portal sharing digital course material, internet access provided at home, quality digital content and resources. Okay, big data is for learning analytic, the key point. And the learning analytic can enhance the implementation of emancipated learning. So that's the alignment. Yes, the big data, learning analytic, and emancipated learning. And this is the learning analytic for emancipated learning. Personalized learning, identifying learning gaps. I just to make clear that by using learning analytic, we can make the learning personalized. We can identify learning gaps. We can engage. We can enhance engagement. We can assess the course effectiveness, we can predict learner performance, and we can improve our future e-learning courses. Oh, the difference between those and this. No, before the conclusion. No, after this. Oh, this is the old version. Sorry about that. Okay, I just sent this slide one day before today, so I make changes. This is actually the most part of our specialization, that the learning analytic for emancipated learnings, the implementation is adaptive e-learning. That's my specialization, adaptive e-learning. By using adaptive e-learning, we can enhance our emancipated learning, our Merdeka Belajar. That's all, Pak Asadi. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Prof. Sujono. Join me to applaud Professor Sujono, everyone. Well, thank you. If we can draw a line of what Professor Sujono just presented, the changing landscape of education, post-pandemic situations, and also the emergence of emancipated learning. And then he moved on the importance of using big data and aligning the HFL to the emancipated learning. Through 7 ways did he promote it, so that if we can connect this presentation to the next one by Associate Professor Edward Palmer. Good morning, Dr. Palmer. Are you there?
Yeah. I'm here. Thank you.
Good. All right. Yeah. So we just now had a presentations on the macro landscape of education. Yeah. Professor Sujono just highlighted the importance of aligning the highly high HFL. What is that, Professor Sujono? Highly flexible learning. Yeah, highly flexible learning to the emancipated learning, which is still become a hot issue here in Indonesia through 7 ways he just promoted. And now the next speaker, Associate Professor Edward Palmer from the University of Adelaide, Australia, will discuss more specific issue, that is the AI technology on learning and assessment, in which I would call, if Professor Sujono talk about the macro structure, macro landscape, then Associate Professor Palmer, the next speaker, will focus more on the micro tools used in learning and assessment. You have around 25 to 30 minutes, Dr. Palmer, and then afterward we have a question and answer session. The time is yours. Ladies and gentlemen, allow us to invite Dr. Palmer to the Zoom meeting.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can all hear me clearly there. Okay, I can't tell whether anyone can hear me. It looks like it's frozen up at my end.
Yeah, we can hear you clearly.
I'm going to proceed assuming that everyone can hear me. I'd like to thank Professor Herman for his talk earlier on. He's made things very clear that we are in an environment of significant change at the moment, and technology plays a part in how we might progress moving forwards. I share his research interests in virtual reality, augmented reality, and I spent my career in technology and education. Let us begin. All right, for those of you on Zoom, you should be able to just access the link to this in chat. If you're in the room, I'm hopeful that your phones will be able to pick out this QR code, and you'll be able to access that. So I'm hopeful that that will be happening. I'm going to be talking about artificial intelligence in education. and I'm going to talk about it specifically in its role in parts of character education. I'm Edward Palmer. I'm from the University of Adelaide, and I have a unit of digital learning and society in which I place my work. So I'd just like to acknowledge the fact that Adelaide is located in the traditional country of the Kaurna people, and I pay my respects to our First Nations people. All right, in terms of character discussion today, I'm going to base it on the three virtue model that McGrath spoke about. McGrath analysed the organising structure of 24 character strengths across people across different countries and came up with different factors about good character. I'm going to be focusing on number 2, self-control, self-regulation, which includes interpersonal strengths like integrity, self-regulation, and perseverance. Okay, so in particular, I'm going to be looking at how AI may be challenged or challenges some of these character personnel. What is artificial intelligence? I'm going to be focusing on the top end of this, where artificial intelligence mimics the intelligence of humans. And hopefully people are familiar enough with the idea of artificial intelligence that it basically looks like a human, it thinks like a human, but it does things far more efficiently. And Professor Herman talked about how the fact that AI isn't just about generating text, it can generate a variety of multimedia outputs, and it's definitely going to be the way of the future for learning. We're probably unfamiliar with the depth of machine learning that sits underneath many things that we do in society, but I'm going to be focusing on the human side of this, and certainly how students interact with artificial intelligence tools in terms of character development. AI has been better than humans for a very long time. The last time a human won a chess match against an artificial intelligence tool was in 1997. It was something that legitimately scared the world championship at the time because he saw something that challenged human supremacy over the world. And the reality is that the smartphones that many of you have in your possession at the moment are able to defeat the AI engine that defeated the World Chess Championship 30 years ago very, very easily. There are many things which are dependent on AI and machine learning algorithms, including the world's finances. It's a very big deal. The images throughout this presentation are all generated by AI as well, just underlying what Professor Herman was talking about. AI is everywhere. We've had speeches delivered in the US Congress written entirely by AI. We know that AI can pass examinations. We know that it's actually going to have an impact on the job market worldwide. And it can also do a lot of creative stuff. And those of you who follow anything to do with Hollywood, we know that actors and many people involved in developing films and television shows in Hollywood have been on strike recently because they are very, very frightened about the fact that AI can create television shows and other creative output using human likenesses. And the problem with AI is it's actually very hard to catch. If from a student's and teacher's perspective, if we are trying to catch people using AI, it's very, very difficult. You may be familiar with tools like Turnitin, which have something which looks for AI-generated content and then reveals that to the teachers. We're already beginning to see AI-generated output in mid-semester assessments, so halfway through this year, and not all of it is captured. And of course, not everything that looks like an AI output is from AI. AI is characterized by being well-structured, following good English rules in our context. But it doesn't mean that everything that reads well and has been and follows good rules around English is necessarily AI. So we have to be very wary about accusing people of using AI because it challenges their integrity directly. So can these tools help us ensure academic integrity? We did a little bit of a study here where we looked at various AI writing tools, writing detection tools. And this is an example on the screen here of Turnitin, one of the world's biggest academic marking and plagiarism detectors. And you can see in the bottom corner with a big red arrow that it's flagging that AI generated 39% of this particular report that we put in there. it's a guide. It's not necessarily predictive of the fact that people will continue to use AI, but it's certainly a guide that there may be something happening there that's worth looking at. How reliable is this number? What we did, and researcher Daniel Lee, who's a postdoc with me in my unit, looked at AI detection as a key part of academic integrity, and he looked at how easy it was to break the AI detectors. In other words, we're trying to put material that we know has been generated by AI into a variety of copying detectors and seeing how well they perform. So we used Turnitin, we used copy leaks, Writer, Zero GPT, Content at Scale, and SEO. We use these tools to just assess to see whether they could detect AI. This is sort of how they present their work. It might give you a percentage, it might give you some sort of graph, it might give you some sort of bar graph indicator, various visual means of just assessing quickly to see whether material has been generated by AI. Essentially, they all do the same thing. They're looking for AI-generated content. We wrote a 500-word essay on academic integrity, or rather we asked ChatGPT to write that for us, and then we put it into these tools. We then made some modifications to it to try and fool these detectors to see whether we could make that work. We did that by paraphrasing common student approaches to things. We swapped the order of items in lists. We replaced words with synonyms. We added in a few deliberate typing errors because ChatGPT does not provide syntactical errors like that. We then had a look at references in there as well. References are very easy at the moment in ChatGPT because they are often fake. They are often just generated creatively by the engine. And so we can very, very quickly tell that things are wrong. So authors might not be correct. The year might not be correct. It may be that the article just does not exist, full stop. What did we find? We found that ChatGPT on Turnitin showed up 100% as being detected by 100% AI, which is exactly correct. But when we put it in, when we made the human modifications and put those in there, we saw that we got to about 39%. In other words, by a few minor modifications, we managed to fool Turnitin. We managed to fool Zero GPT, Writer, Content at Scale, and SEO. Copy leaks was consistent, but not very high. 75% is not very high if you are accusing someone of cheating. So we have to be very careful there. That's what I just said. We looked at other tools. So we looked at Bing. Now Bing is interesting because one of the things that Bing does is it says, okay, in this example here, it says that there's only 1% of human generated content in the tool. And it directly says to us, you should edit your text until there's less detectable AI content. It's actually directing the user to try and hide the fact that they've used AI to generate content. We draw attention to that there. And when we put it through Bing, and then we put it through other tools, we found that we could actually defeat Bing very, very easily. So it was 100% human-generated content after we'd run through some very basic fixes there. In other words, AI detection tools are not going to be effective in terms of the way that they can support academic integrity. So what can we do? We can reduce the percentage weight of written assessments, but as Professor Herman talked about earlier on, it's not just written assessments that AI can generate for humans. So that's problematic. We can focus on the value add of what human-generated content can do. That is a useful thing as educators. We can create different types of assignments based around scenarios. We may choose to just run exams for everything. We can be very clear about the types of sources and references that are required. However, just because AI can't generate good references at the moment doesn't mean that in 6 months' time it won't be able to. So I don't think that is a good solution. We can look for different types of submissions, but as we've already heard, video submissions, narrated PowerPoints can be generated by AI as well. So that's also not a solution. We can ask for transparency, asking people to say how they've used AI. Or, and I think this is really the only solution from a character perspective, is We just have to teach academic integrity as a core value and hope that people, our students, take that as that core value and then apply it in their uses of technologies. There's a variety of things we can do there. Part of it relies on the students doing the right thing, and that in turn depends on us doing the right thing in terms of creating good learning exercises. Right now, we can tell if a student is using AI, particularly in small classes. We know what their real writing style is. We could run every piece of work through an AI detector, but we don't have to do that if we actually know the student and how they write and the styles that they do. But we're not going to know for sure. We've just illustrated that we're never going to know whether someone's genuinely used AI. So self-regulation matters, and that stems from academic integrity. But let's see why self-regulation matters so much. When we're talking about ethics, we're talking about using AI-generated content without explicit acknowledgement. But what I really care about is to make sure that what's happening in the classrooms is that genuine learning is happening. So if we're not getting genuine learning, we've got bigger problems than people using electronic tools. So let's just assume for the moment that students don't self-regulate their use on AI and they use it on current assignments. How good is AI in that space? Pretty much all of the tasks that we currently do in our classes, discussion forums, calculations, writing essays, doing multiple choice questions, mathematical descriptions and computer coding, they are all very easily compromised by artificial intelligence. ChatGPT, the current free version, can do all of these exercises to a very high level. So we have a significant problem here. If students can't self-regulate their use, we will not, and we can't detect it, we have a significant problem as teachers. Let's have a look at a couple of examples. It's very easy for ChatGPT to fix some errors. So you don't need to read the details here. The point here is that if we take some existing written content and ask ChatGPT to tidy it up and make it syntactically correct or translate it into a completely different language, it will be able to do that for us. So it's very, very good at correcting spelling and grammar. There is no reason for a student to hand in any piece of work now that doesn't have, that has technical issues in terms of grammar or syntax. If we ask ChatGPT to write a story, and we, once again, don't look at the details here too much. The point is that if I ask ChatGPT to write a story at the level of a good 13-year-old about her pet fish, it will write the story. And one of the things that people think we can do at the moment is we can just say, well, let's not worry too much about the story. Let's get them to reflect on the process that created it. The problem with that is that ChatGPT can also do that as well. So when I asked it to explain the structure of the story, it actually provides a very clear description of how the story runs. So it talks about the exposition, it talks about rising action and climax, classical ways of teaching how to write a story. And because ChatGPT is built on structure and it delivers structure very well, it can actually describe how it builds things incredibly well as well. So if we ask for students to explain how they've developed stuff, these generational AIs will be able to do that for us. If we ask them to write a personal reflection on it, it can also do that as well. Note the caveat there. It says at the top there, if you can see that, it says, as an AI language model, I don't have personal experiences or emotions, but I can provide a reflection on the story from a literary perspective. And then it writes a personal reflection. It is very easy for a student to change what ChatGPT produces and deliver that as their work. If they can't control how they use the AI, it is going to do a lot of the work for them, and we will not be able to detect it. And it can also add references as well. In this case, many of these references are actually legitimate, but some of them are not. Let's move on to something a little bit different here. Look at discussion boards. So one of the things that I typically do in my classes is I get students to write discussion boards and use that every week as a form of continual engagement. One of the questions is discuss the ethics of Edward Jenner's work. Edward Jenner was the creator of the smallpox vaccine, very seminal moment in history. But the problem with that was that he actually experimented on an 8-year-old boy as one of his initial test subjects. And so there are some significant ethical issues to discuss there. So this used to be a very big discussion point in my class discussion forums. However, when I asked ChatGPT to do that, it produces, once again, don't worry about the text, it produces very good written work. It produces a picture of someone who's probably not Edward Jenner, but it produces some artwork to complement it as well. What it puts up here in terms of its answer to that question about, in terms of ethics around Edward Jenner's work, is very good. It would be a credit or a distinction work for me in my classroom. It's a very, very good piece of work, and the student wouldn't have to do any of it, and I would never know that they didn't do it themselves. So in terms of discussion forums and essays, at the moment, they are very, very compromised, and they are a real challenge to the character of our students and to us as teachers in terms of designing these products. I guess the real question is, are students using AI? What we found in our research here is about 1/3 of the students are using it, and about 1/3 of them don't know how to use it and don't want to use it. When they are found to be using it and we ask them about it, they typically do not acknowledge that they've used it. It is very, very clear that they've made some poor decisions. They haven't regulated their own learning, and there's been a big problem with that. What we've seen in terms of marks is, you can see just on the screen there's a red mark that suggests that the scores in discussion forums have gone up maybe by 10%, but we don't have enough data at this stage to say that it is actually a legitimate output. But there is an indicator here that particularly for students who attend face-to-face, that the AI engines are maybe raising some of the scores that they have in discussion forums. How do we address this? It's very tricky. What we do not do is we do not pretend that this does not exist. Artificial intelligence is going to take over the world very, very quickly, and therefore we need to be proactive in terms of how we engage with it. If we don't allow our students to learn how to use these tools, we are doing them a significant disservice, because they are going to go into industries that use this regularly. So we need to train them to use AI effectively and ethically and self-regulate their behavior. All right, I have a few minutes left. I just want to talk a little bit about perseverance. So I had 3 aspects in character education that I was looking at: self-regulation and integrity. We've shown that AI can be a real challenge to those. What I want to talk about is a little bit of a positive here. So AI can aid perseverance. So I'm going to give you 2 examples of students using AI where they may not have continued with their studies if they hadn't had AI around to help them. So the first one is a physics example. A student came to me with a physics problem. I could not answer it. It was outside of my specialty area. And they'd done some Google searches. They couldn't find an answer to what their problem was. And they were just looking for some hints to help them get going. So I said to them, have you used ChatGPT? They said no, they were worried about using it. And I said, sit down with me and we'll run through using it. And I asked ChatGPT to explain this specific physics concept, which was at a 3rd year level. And the student looked at it and said, okay, I understand what this is saying now. I understand the problem that I had. I can now go away and do my problem. And the student went away and did that problem. It was outside of my expertise. I looked at it and it was not helpful for me in the slightest. I didn't have enough understanding to make it work for me. So we see an example there of AI aided perseverance. It enabled someone to actually take some understanding and apply it to a new problem. For someone who didn't have the background knowledge, myself, it basically meant that it was useless. It did not aid me in any way whatsoever. My final example is on language learning. Students in class in particular learn language quite well, but they often struggle to apply that outside of class. They don't have the right tools. They don't have the right inclination to do that. But you can actually put scenarios in multiple languages in some of these tools in ChatGPT, and therefore the students can actually ask questions in another language. In this case, it's German. They asked it in the language of German, and they had a conversation with it. And you can actually speak into it and it will actually interpret what you're saying, convert that into text, and then provide some text outwards. So in terms of aiding perseverance in language learning, artificial intelligence has already shown that it can do a very good job in that space. Long term, we cannot detect student use of artificial intelligence. We need to teach them academic integrity as a core value. We cannot avoid it being in the world. So therefore, our students will need self-regulation. We must be a good partner to it. We'll teach our students to do the same. It will aid their learning. It will support their perseverance on difficult tasks. From the student perspective, self-regulation is key, aided by academic integrity, but we can help it from the teacher's end by applying appropriate learning designs. Okay, and I think I will wrap it up just there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Palmer. Well, it's a great speech. Well, previously, Professor Surjono elaborated the changing landscape and the macro conditions in education in dealing with the transformation of technology. Just now, Dr. Palmer showed us that there are things that we also need to consider in terms of ethics and effectiveness in order to make or to form academic integrity and also self-regulation. Well, distinguished guests and speakers, now we are entering the next 30 minutes of our session for question and answer. Now I'm inviting 3 questions from this room and also those in the Zoom to ask these 2 distinguished speakers on the issues they just presented. Well, anybody here in this room first or those at the Zoom? 1 over there, yep. 2, anybody from the Zoom? No? Okay, 1, 2, 3, all right. Can you give her the microphone, please? Okay, make sure you mention your name clearly and to whom you address the questions, to Professor Sujono or Dr. Palmer.
My name is Ramadanti. I want to ask some question to Dr. Palmer.
Okay.
In the presentation, it is stated that when the teacher want to help students to regulate themselves when using an AI, they must design the learning method so that the teacher can help students to regulate themselves when using an AI. I want to ask some question. What's the example of learning design that can be used by teacher to help students regulate themselves when they using an IA? Thank you.
All right, okay. So it's question to Dr. Palmer on the examples of how teachers can help students in self-regulating their learning. All right, that's the first question. Yep.
Okay. I'm happy to answer that one. I'll give you an example based.
Okay, all right. You want to answer it directly? It's fine. Okay, no problem.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
I'm happy to do that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you. I can give you a specific example built around discussion forums. So one of the problems that I had with discussion forums was that I asked questions that could be very easily answered by artificial intelligence. Following what Professor Herman was saying was, by personalising the education of students, we can actually enable better learning. And I've applied that approach to the discussion forum posts as well. So rather than just saying something like, can you please analyse this, this work by a particular researcher, I actually say, analyse the piece of work from the researcher and please make sure that you ensure that it relates to something that we talked about in the class. And so they have to basically take a link that they can easily generate from AI, but they have to relate it to something that they've personally experienced. Now, it may be that we can relate assessment tasks to their personal life. It may be that we can link it to some of their personal experiences. But personalisation is one of the approaches that we can take to try and minimise the impact of artificial intelligence. It's okay for people to go and research some stuff using artificial intelligence. We need them to be able to apply it to particular situations and solve certain problems. And by personalising some of the assessment tasks that we set, we can make that a little bit harder for them to use AI. If they can't use AI, then they will be able to regulate their own learning a little better.
All right, cool. Thank you, Dr. Palmer. Second question now from the audience. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Deno. I came from UNESA, Surabaya, especially in guidance and counseling department. I will ask to Prof. Herman. I'm very interested with Mr. Herman. Prof. Herman explained about Merdeka Belajar. Or, I'm forget this million of Merdeka Belajar, Prof.
Emancipated learning.
Oh yeah, emancipated learning. Like this, Prof. Herman. I'm getting flu. I think Yogyakarta now is so cool. Especially about open up tertiary education, Prof. How to make the best formulation for our students, especially about how to master their field or their study, because with the, how to make the best formulation for our students to master their competencies, even though they are given the opportunity to study outside their field. Because by completing their study with their undergraduate program, doesn't guarantee they master their field. How we can tell the community that with Merdeka Belajar make our student one thing we can guarantee that our student master their competencies.
Yeah, okay, we get the point. All right, so
thank you.
This is probably dealing with your explanations on the current focus more on skills rather than content, Prof. Herman. Yeah, so the question is basically on how can we ensure that students actually achieve their mastery learning? That's the question. You can directly answer that now.
Okay. When we are teaching as a lecturer or a teacher, usually we use various method, strategy, and so on. Problem-based learning, project-based learning. Usually we can use one of them or maybe a mix of them. We have to make sure that students get the competence of what we want. We have to make sure that the evaluation process to make sure that students meet the what we call the competence that we have stated in the beginning, such as in my field, if my course students have to make a kind of product, multimedia product, for example, So we have to make sure that students have to follow the path, and I have to make sure that students get the product and good product, and as we stated at the beginning. I think the process and the evaluation is important to make sure that students get the competent rather than just know the content.
The issue here is on the assessment, yeah, rather than the method. Then assessment for as and for learning would be and off learning would be relevant to that. Thank you, Ibu Dena. Next, the last question. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, my name is Didi Haryanto. So I am from Electrical Engineering Education Department, Universitas Negeri Yogyakarta. And I would like to address my question to both distinguished speaker today, Professor Herman and Professor Palmer. Even Professor Herman to this speech talking about the flexibility of learnings in order to enhance the emancipated learning, but I'm sure and I believe that Professor Herman concerned as well in the EI, artificial intelligence. So my question is it possible for the EI, technology of EI, can fully replace the role of teachers in the teaching process? That is for the first question. And the second question is, to what extent EI can, I would like, I don't want to say that is as EI as a supplement in the teaching process, but fully, to what extent EI can fully replace the role of teacher in the teaching, in the traditional teachings situations. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. But Didi, yeah, two questions addressed. Is it possible that AI technology can fully replace teachers, probably teacher roles, yeah? And then to what extent? If, yeah, question one is answered through yes or to what extent, then to what extent would it be able to replace teachers' roles? Prof. Herman, first?
Okay, I don't think so that the development of AI in education can replace the teacher. This is our challenging as a teacher or lecturer, because now if we give a student a task or question, they can search the answer in the internet, or maybe they ask what we call ChatGPT. The first question, one example of the use of AI in education, ChatGPT. Student can ask to the ChatGPT, and the application can answer everything what they ask. So this is our challenging as a teacher or lecturer, that we have to be more creative and more innovative, and also how to make our material to be not just remembering and understanding, but have to be go to higher thinking,
Skills.
higher order thinking skill, such as if we teach material, we have to make the student to be evaluate and create and also analyzing, not just give the answer from the ChatGPT. That's
Yeah,
from me.
thank you, Prof. Sarjono. Over to you, Dr. Palmer.
Thank you. I will give my answer in the form of an example, I think. So let's talk about what AI can do that a teacher does at the moment. an AI engine at the moment can create a very decent lesson plan with learning objectives and accessible tasks. It can do all that very easily. It will benefit from having a human being make sure that it is appropriate for the group of students that they are going to teach. So that will become the teacher's role to modify stuff which is being automatically generated. Once we've got the lesson plan going and we want to assess, the AI engines can create the assessment. It can create the rubric to mark the assessment. It will be able to mark the assessment, provide feedback to the student, and provide a report to the teacher and the student. So in terms of all of those aspects of a teacher's role, they are all potentially replaceable. However, there's a bit in the middle there, which is very, very important, and I don't believe AI can do the job. One of the things that AI can do is it can provide a lot of information very quickly and accurately. However, it doesn't mean that this person who's looking at that material has learned anything. So I'm very concerned about the role of developing foundational knowledge because I think that it's very accessible to be generated by AI. It can convince a teacher that a student understands it if all they rely on is written work. The other part of that is going to be the ability to critically analyze what comes out of an AI engine. Is the material that's come out correct or not? Is there an opportunity to make changes to it to improve it? And I think that critical analysis skill is something that needs to be taught, and it relies on that foundational base of knowledge to be able to do that. So I think teachers' roles may get a lot easier. I think there is an opportunity for a lot of administrative tasks to be done automatically. But the actual teaching, the actual moment where a teacher is with groups of students and trying to make sure that they understand some basic concepts and have the skills to critically analyze outputs and solve problems is something that teachers are going to be still relied upon. So in answer to your question, AI can replace nearly everything that we currently do, but it can't replace the core value that we have there where teachers provide evidence and support for genuine learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Palmer. Yeah, so the answer is quite clear from both speakers today that Prof. Surjana said that no, it won't, yeah, because this machine would probably teach us using higher order thinking skills. Meanwhile, Dr. Palmer argues with there are aspects of teacher roles which probably can be replaced, as mentioned previously, examples of things which can be gained from the AI prompts, for example. However, the core values of being teachers, being with students, motivating them, being with them, and so on, wouldn't be able to be replaced. All right, thank you. That's the first session. 3 questions. Now I'm inviting more questions from the audience in this room and also in the Zoom meeting. Anybody else? Please raise your hand, if any. Including those in the Zoom, of course. Anybody in this room?
Hello.
Oh, there's one in the Zoom, I think.
Hello, Pak.
Okay.
Apa kabar?
Bu Yosita. Hello, Bu Yosita.
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
Hello, Edward.
Feel free to
Yeah.
ask your questions.
So great to see you talking about AI in front of my colleagues in Indonesia. Yeah. So I have a question to Edward as a lecturer. How should we respond to students who are evidently using AI in their assignment? I mean, like, I got a student and I try to prove them that they are using AI, and then it's just they are evidently using, but I couldn't like respond, or I couldn't deal with the student and call the student that you are using the AI. So I just put it in the notes that the student might use AI, but I couldn't give like a final result as a fail or something like that. So how should we respond after we know about the student that they are using AI? Thank you, Edward.
Okay, so it's questions on teachers' response to students using AI. All right. So it's more on ethical response from the teachers. Dr.
I
Palmer.
think it's partially ethical and I think it's partially practical. So we obviously don't want students presenting other work as their own. That's something that's undesirable. And it doesn't matter if it's another student's work or a researcher's work or it's generated by artificial intelligence. Ideally, what we want is evidence that the students have thought about an issue and put their own words down. It is very hard to prove that anyone has used AI. As I showed earlier, the detection tools do not do the job. And it is very easy for students who've got lots of time on their hands to work through this process and present something that won't show up as an AI. So it then boils down to the teacher deciding whether it is or isn't. But if they can't prove it, it becomes very problematic as a process. The way I look at this is I will challenge the student to give me some evidence that they haven't used AI, and that might be in a question and answer scenario. I ask them some questions about it. If they can answer it, then they probably learned something, so it doesn't matter whether they've used AI or not. I'm very keen on not turning learning exercises into punishment. So wherever possible, I will make sure that the rules about using AI for assignments are very, very clear up front so the student understands where the boundaries are, because they will change depending on the task. And I will give them an opportunity to resubmit work if I believe that they haven't written the work they've submitted. After that, if I've got enough evidence, I will probably put it through the appropriate processes to try and encourage students to not do it in the future.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Palmer. So clear rules, yeah, clear classroom conduct, and then check, and finally punishment. Ibu Yosi, anything else you would like to further?
Thank you. Thank you.
All
Nice
right.
to see you.
Nice to
Yeah,
see you too,
bye-bye.
Ibu Yosi. Well, anybody else? Now, I'm inviting more questions from this room. Anybody? Or those in the Zoom? Feel free, because we still have time. All right, if not, then please join me in giving highest applause to these two distinguished speakers, everyone. On behalf of the committee, I would like to thank Professor Sujono and Dr. Palmer for the great presentations today. Well, everyone, now we are entering the next, that is before we are entering to the next sessions, parallel sessions at around 10:15. Then we'll have coffee break for around 15 to 20 minutes, all right? So refreshments are available outside. Feel free to spend the time and meet the other colleagues in the breakout session. Also, those in the Zoom, those are in the Zoom, please make sure that you'll be back before 10:15. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ada posisi.